Hi, everyone. We're going to go ahead and get started. Welcome to our Diversity in Water Speaker Series event this evening. Before we get started, I ask that everyone make sure that they are muted. So the goal of this Diversity in Water Speaker Series is to highlight the stories of diverse leaders in the water industry, how their identity has impacted their journey, and how they see diversity playing a role in the future of water. So this evening, our speaker is Haishan Piao. Haishan currently serves as Chief Engineer at Greater Cincinnati Waterworks. She earned her PhD in Environmental Engineering from the University of Cincinnati in 2003. Since 2008, Haishan has been a registered professional engineer in environmental engineering in Ohio, holding a Class 4 water supply license from Ohio EPA since 2019. With over 21 years of expertise, her career spans water treatment, water quality controls, distribution system modeling, and capital improvement project management. We are very glad to have the opportunity to hear from Haishan today. During Haishan's presentation, please feel free to ask questions in the chat. Then at the end of the presentation, we'll have a Q&A. Before I turn it over to Haishan, I'd like to take the opportunity to talk a little more about the Diversity in Water Speaker Series. So the Diversity in Water Speaker Series planning team is made up of water professionals who organize and put on up to 6 speaker series events a year, highlighting leaders across the water industry. The team's efforts are on behalf of the AWWA Ohio Section's Diversity and Inclusion Committee, who promote diversity in the water industry, and the OAWWA's Young Professionals, or YP Committee. The YP Committee is committed to the advancement of students and young professionals in the water industry and serves as a welcoming mat for students and YPs to the water industry. AWWA defines a YP as someone who is 35 years old or younger and has been in the industry for less than 10 years, but all water professionals are welcome to join our events. And we do have 2 events upcoming. There's a YP water plant tour on the 26th at the Ottawa County Water Treatment Plant. And then we do have our first ever YP Summit coming up in November at Delco Wolf Water Center. Feel free to join, go to our website, or reach out to any of the planning committee, and we will be able to give you those links if you would like to look into any of those events. I'd now like to thank Haishan for joining us today and taking the time to be with us, and I will go ahead and turn it over to her to kick off her presentation.
Can you see my screen?
I can go ahead and just switch the display settings.
Okay.
Perfect. You're good to go, Haishan.
All right. Well, thanks, Tony, for introduction. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining me today and then listen to my story. And I also wanted to thank you, Tony, for inviting me to speak in this series. To be honest, when Tony first approached me and talked about this series and speaking here, I was a little bit hesitant because I'm not sure, I wasn't sure if I was the right person to speak here. And because personally, I don't think my story is very exciting. But as a colleague of Tony, he's such a nice person. I want to support his work. And also, the other side of my mind thinks this might be a great opportunity for me to look back my career journey and also reflect on my career path. So here I am. I will try my best to take this talk engaging. And my hope is if my story can resonate any one of you, that will be great. And then I hope my story today inspire people here listen to me tonight. So with that, I wanted to start just with a brief introduction about myself, who I am and where I am based. I'm sure a lot of people already know, Tony already mentioned, I'm Chief Engineer of the Greater Cincinnati Waterworks, or GCWW. I'm currently living in Cincinnati, Ohio. Cincinnati is located in the southwest part of the state, and it's the third most populous city in Ohio after Columbus and Cleveland. And when I also do this and Googled, and it actually ranks 64th in population-wide in the whole nation. So I learned something new. For GCWW, we are one of the department in the city of Cincinnati. We currently have about 600 employees. I don't know, I cannot see my part of my screen. Okay, here we go. And I'm sharing some of the pictures of GCWW here, and the one up at the right corner on the top is my favorite. It's our intake picture for one of the treatment plant. Since I will talk about the Greater Cincinnati Waterworks during my talk tonight, I wanted to just share a little bit of the overview of our system. So Greater Cincinnati Waterworks owns 2 treatment plants and operate both of plants. One is a surface water treatment plant with a capacity of 240 MGD. That's a Miller treatment plant. And the other one is a smaller, the groundwater treatment plant, which is a Bolton treatment plant with a 40 MGD capacity. We have about 3,200 miles of water main and 11 pressure zones and 26 storage tanks. Our average day pumpage is about maybe 110 to 120 MGD. And right now we serve approximately 1.1 million customers. That include both our retail and wholesale customers. So in this map here, the light blue is the retail area served by the surface water treatment plant, and greenish, the yellow greenish area is the area served by plant, and here is our retail, so that husband, he is IT professor, junior in high school, and my 10 years old dog, who is a mix of Shih Tzu and Maltese. So that's a brief introduction about myself. And with that, I wanted to dive into the main topics today. I will start with my personal and professional journey first. And then I will discuss a little bit about the diversity and inclusion. And finally, I will share some career advice with you. So I'm often asked about this question, where are you originally from? So here I am. The answer is I'm originally from China. And here's a little bit about China. The capital city of China is Beijing. The area size of China is 9.6 million square kilometers, which makes the third largest country by the land side in the world. And Chinese population is 1.4 billion, and which is about 17% of the world population. And I believe one time, before, China was the most populous country in the world, but I believe recently India has taken that lead in that regard. The official language of China is Mandarin Chinese, but I believe maybe some of you heard of the Cantonese, which is completely, to me, like completely different language almost, even though we consider that dialect, but I cannot speak somebody who speaks Cantonese. Actually, I don't understand. And China has a long, rich history of 5,000 years. So China is one of the world's oldest civilizations. So when I prepared these slides, I Googled and tried to find some interesting pictures about China. And here are some of the selected pictures. And the right-hand side of the corner is the Great Wall of China. And here is the Tiananmen Square in Beijing. And I assume some of you may be able to recognize this person. This is Jackie Chan, one of the famous action movie star. Maybe a lot of people recognize. And this picture here is a Chinese circus. And I hope you recognize some of these pictures. Perhaps the picture in the below here, the Chinese dish. I think this is picture of the General Tso's chicken. But here's fun fact, because I've been told this is the most popular Chinese dish in the US. But to be honest, I've never heard of this dish when I was in China. So I thought that's interesting. But I think it's similar with like a McDonald's and KFC. If you go to China, the menus you see in China is totally different to what you see in the US. So I believe these restaurants try to adapt to the local taste of each country when they develop these, open these stores in different countries. And this is my hometown. It's called Yanji. It's one of the small cities in China, located in the northeastern portion of China. And it's very close to the border between China and North Korea, actually. So there's a lot of the, what do we call the ethnic Koreans? The population of the city is about 400,000, and significant percentage of that is actually the ethnic Korean, which are the descendant of immigrants from Korea. So if you go to my hometown, you can hear people speak both Korean and Chinese. You can hear both languages, and schools also offer education in both languages. Actually, my great-grandparents actually were immigrant of Korean too. So my family actually speak in Korean at home. And I went to school from elementary all the way through high school that is teaching in Korean. But because Chinese is official language, so we also have to learn Chinese as a second language, even you go to Korean school. So that's why I can speak both Chinese and Korean. And so if you look at the picture of the right-hand corner here, I don't know how many people can see that clearly, but these signs both in Korean and Chinese. And my hometown also famous for offering some diverse food, like both Korean and Chinese food, so that attract a lot of tourists. So I hope when you get a chance, you have time to visit my hometown one day. I also want to briefly mention the education in my family. Education in my family is incredibly important. My parents are both middle school teachers. When I was growing up, Chinese were poor economically, and the salaries of the teachers were modest. But even with that, my parents tried their best to support our education. So they never denied me education opportunities just because I was a girl. And I have a sibling, and I have a brother and sister. We all received pretty strong education. So I always thankful to my parents for their unwavering support of education. So after I graduated from high school, I left my hometown and moved to Beijing to continue my college studies at Peking University. This is one of the most famous universities in China. So I actually earned both bachelor and master degree from Peking University, and my major was in environmental science and engineering. So my decision to pursue this field was actually influenced of a book. I don't remember exactly the name of the book now, but it was a book about nature, and then also with the stunning pictures of nature, and also talking about some serious environmental issues and how we should protect the environment. So I was kind of attracted by these pictures, and then also there's an urgent message, we need to protect the environment. So you know how these teenagers usually have big dreams. So that was my dream. I wanted to study in this area. I want to make change in the world. So that's how I studied this field. And then also I had a good friend of me. She was 1 year older than me, and she went to environment engineering field 1 year before that. So that also inspired me. So back then, we don't really have a lot of resource to a lot of access to internet. So I could not really have a lot of resources to do more research, but all these observations and inspiration actually just made me to guide me to this field. And I never regret I chose this field. So I spent 7 years at the Peking University and learned a lot of the environmental and then environmental issues and water, wastewater treatment, all that kind of stuff. But even after that, I still felt like I wanted to learn more about this field. And at that point, I was eager to do some research in the field. So when a lot of my classmates were preparing for the GRE test to apply for the university in the US, I actually joined them and took the GRE test and applied to universities in the US. And also, again, financially, my parents' income and saving were not enough to support me to study abroad. So I also have to apply for the financial aid. And luckily, a lot of the universities in the US at that time provided opportunity for education and financial aid for international students. So I was luckily awarded full scholarship by University of Cincinnati and then started my journey in the US. So I'm really grateful for the chance to study at UC and the financial aid I received. It was a huge milestone for me and made a big difference in my life. So in 1998, I came to the US all by myself. It was an exciting, but at the same time, it was daunting move, as you can imagine. The experience was like stepping into a complete new world, different world. Not just a language barrier. At that point, my English wasn't that good. And also you walk into a country with a different culture, different system, and different environment. Everything is new to me. But maybe because of the being young helped me, but I gradually settled in and then navigated all these challenges. And also 1 year later, my husband joined me and he also studied at UC. So we kind of support each other. That helped us a lot, each other. So at the UC, my advisor was Dr. Paul Bishop. Maybe this name is familiar to some of you. This is a picture of Dr. Paul Bishop here. But he was well known for his groundbreaking research in the wastewater treatment using biofilms. So when I was doing my PhD dissertation, my research actually was focusing on wastewater treatment. So I was doing research on the wastewater contaminated by mercury using some chemical treatment process. So I spent 5 years at UC, and through the 5-year study and work, I eventually got my PhD in environmental engineering from UC in 2003. Those 5 years was incredibly valuable to me. So this time allowed me to not only become familiar with many aspects of life in the US, but also develop a range of technical skills. And I deepened my engineering knowledge in water and wastewater, and also worked on improving other skills like communication skills, presentation skills, writing ability, all that stuff. So it's been very important in my life these 5 years. And in 2003, shortly before my official graduation, I got my first job as an engineer in one of the engineering consulting firm. The name of that firm is SBR Technologies. So this is overview of my career path as an engineer. So again, in 2003, I started as an engineer with SBR Technologies. And 6 years later, I moved to GCWW as a senior engineer. And 7 years later, I was promoted to a treatment supervisor. And by 2021, I was appointed as a principal engineer. And last year, in 2023, I advanced to my current role as chief engineer. So I will spend more time later talk about each of these roles I had. But I want to mention each of these roles I had has their unique values. So each role has provided me unique learning experience and also has contributed to my growth. So ultimately leading me to where I am today. And over the past 20 plus years, my interest and experience have spanned various areas within the field of water. That included water treatment, treatment plant operation and quality controls, treatment optimization, especially dealing with a lot of these emerging contaminants. And also in drinking water distribution system side, I was doing a lot of the distribution system modeling, both hydraulic and water quality modeling, and water quality sensor evaluations and quality control for the distribution system. And more recently, I was more focusing on the capital improvement project, including the treatment and distribution facility design, construction, water main design, construction, and overall capital improvement project management. So now I want to delve into a little bit more detail about my positions. So in 2003, I studied as a engineer first with a consulting firm. And the first project I worked on was in helping an industrial wastewater treatment plant in Dayton, Ohio for more specialized treatment. But that's actually the only wastewater project I work on after I graduated from UC. So shortly after I finished that project, I was transferred to the US EPA test and evaluation facility that is located in Cincinnati, Ohio, because SBR Technologies was subcontractor to this pilot plant facility and owned by US EPA. We are subcontracted to Shaw Environmental at that time. That was Shaw Environmental was the primary contractor at that point. So I was involved in many different projects supported by US EPA at that time. So these are some of the examples of the project: drinking water distribution system, decon project, network tracer study and hydraulic modeling project, and also involved in various research projects like water quality sensors evaluation, treatment MTB using a UV-AOP process, evaluation of the point of entry and point of use for removal of biological contaminants. So in 2008, I passed PE exam and became a registered professional engineer in Ohio in environmental engineering. The one notable project I want to mention is that drinking water tracer study and hydraulic modeling project. That gave me opportunity to work with several folks from GCWW, and because it was collaborative work between US EPA and then GCWW. So that project allowed me to interact with several employees, and it sparked my interest in the work of water utilities. So it was during that time I began considering a shift towards more practical real-world application rather than just purely more research-focused work, because by that time, a lot of my work was really focused on research. So when there was an engineering position open up at GCWW, I applied and I was fortunate to secure that job. So in 2009, I started my journey with GCWW. The first position was a senior engineer working in the water quality and treatment division. So my focus was more in the distribution system modeling. So this is our model. We have this all pipes distribution system model. We use that for various applications, including master planning and distribution system operation optimization or water quality control for entire system. And also I was managing several CIP projects, but most of them still related to modeling. So these projects like all pipes model, validation and calibration, and distribution system storage tank aeration evaluation to remove THMs, and all pipes model system distribution model analysis for water quality improvement. And besides that, I started involved in some other projects like water storage facilities and pump station design and construction. I wasn't really managing these projects, but I was involved as a representative of water quality and distribution division, and then review their design, any aspect related to water quality issues, right? So that was pretty much my main responsibility in this role. So after, I say 7 years working as a senior engineer in the distribution system side, I feel like I have a pretty solid understanding of the distribution system and the modeling. And I started interested in the treatment process of our both treatment plant. So I was exploring the opportunities in the treatment plant operation. So in 2016, when there was opportunity, I applied and I promoted to treatment supervisor and started supervising the water treatment process for the treatment plant. So the first 2 years, I was overseeing the smaller site groundwater treatment plant, the Bolton treatment plant. And then 2 years later, I moved on to the larger site, the surface water treatment plant, our Miller treatment plant. So I basically doing day-to-day operation, overseeing more from the water quality perspective. So make sure the treatment we're doing meet all the regulation and the finished water meet all the water quality standards. So that was my main responsibility. And I got to know a lot of these detailed process of the operation and also more familiar with the treatment related regulations at that point. And as a treatment supervisor, I was involved in these treatment related research and projects, more in related like some emerging contaminants like algae and DBPs, 1,4-dioxane, PFAS, that kind of contaminants. And because we also have a GAC unit in the Miller plant, and we also have an on-site reactivation. So we also did some work and project related to these GAC and reactivation aspects. And at that point, I think I gradually started working on my leadership skills because I became a member of the divisional senior management involved in the entire division direction development and in any decision making process. And I also involved in the budgeting too. So doing more capital and operational budgeting. So that more like a starting point for me to being more in the leadership role. So I worked as a treatment supervisor for 5 years. And after that, I started thinking about more in engineering side again. So I decided to explore a new area by transitioning from water quality and treatment division back to engineering role as a principal engineer in engineering division. That was a little bit bold move for me because I have never actually managed the engineering project more under like more design and construction type of engineering project. And also I'm leaving more my comfortable like a water quality treatment division where I worked like 12 years, moving into complete new group. But even though it's challenging shift for me, but my curiosity and my eagerness to learn about the new business process in engineering division actually drove my decision. So in my new role, actually, I work as a leader of the facility section under the engineering division. So I was overseeing a group who is managing the waterworks CIP project related more on the water treatment plan and other facilities. But I'm also involved in some water mains project and buildings, that type of project as well. And also gave me an opportunity to actually manage and champion large-scale engineering project myself. So one example of that is the Miller plant. We're building new clear well right now, and I was managing that project involving from the design and when we transfer to the construction phase. That is the fund of the project, like a 45 million. So it's very big project and gave me a very great opportunity to learn a lot of these design and construction aspects of the engineering project and then how we do the procurement of this type of project as well. And in here, I continue to do the capital operational budget for my section. And at one point, I became a manager of the entire waterworks CIP program to more like overseeing the departmental CIP program and budgeting. We have approximately 75 million per year for CIP. So heavily involved in that to learn more about how we budget this, how we prioritize CIP project, all that kind of stuff. So continue to building my leadership skills in this role. Finally in 2023, actually last year, I was honored to be selected as a chief engineer of waterworks. In this role, I actually leading entire engineering division. Right now, we have 93 employees in the division that include engineers, engineering technicians, surveyors, inspectors, and a few admin staff as well. This division, we have 4 sections, including plan facility section, water system planning and record section, system design section, and contract admin section. And continue also working as the CIP program manager for entire waterworks. And also, I automatically became a member of the GCWW steering committee, so involved in the entire organization's decision-making process. So I continue building my leadership skills here. And I just mentioned becoming chief engineer is significant honor for me. But when I began my career in waterworks like 15, 16 years ago, I never imagined, I never even dreamed that I will reach this position. So sometimes I'm thinking how I became chief engineer. Now all I can think is like I just followed my passion and my curiosity and just my dedication step by step. So I think which just has led me to this role. But also at the same time, I wanted to appreciate that all my leaderships that I built up through these years. And really grateful for the trust placed by my directors, my supervisor, and me. So right now, I'm still kind of new in this role. I'm still learning, adapting to this new position. And I'm committed to proving that they're confident in me was well placed. The other thing I want to mention too is like I feel very fortunate to work alongside many talented coworkers now, and then their support every day is significant, and then that's crucial for my success in this role. And every day I'm reminded of how important to have a great relationship with your coworkers and then building the professional connections, how important that is. And later on, I will mention this when I talk about the career advice, but I want us to talk about this a little bit here because it's always important through my career. So besides my responsibilities within the organization, I've been actively involved in various professional communities, including for AWWA, I've been committee member for some of these committees, including biofiltration and also reviewer for the AWWA manual for algae, and also actively involved in the Ohio AWWA annual conference technical program, and then also part of the Ohio, the ozone biofiltration technical standard committee. And again, the other part is I was several projects, water foundation research project, I actively involved in there as a PAC member. And then these are technical side, but also I like to go out to volunteer and then do the community outreach. So whenever there is opportunity, if I have time, I'd like to do this kind of thing. So I just feel like I learn a lot, and you're also building good network through these activities. So I strongly encourage you to pursue similar opportunities if there are a chance. They can be incredibly rewarding. So that actually concludes my personal and professional career path journey. Now I want to take a little moment to talk about the diversity and inclusion, because I know this whole speak series is about the diversity and inclusion in water, right? So I just wanted to mention, by no means I'm expert in this area. So actually there's some research and growth, and just start with a simple definition. What is diversity? So diversity is more like a presence of differences within a given setting. So it can be difference in race, gender, age, ethnicity, sexual orientation, and disability. So examples of diversity can be workforce diversity and cultural diversity. And for inclusion, it's more of the practice of creating an environment where any individual group, they feel like they're welcomed, represented, and supported and valued. So the example of that can be, it can have inclusive policies and supportive cultures. So why nowadays we put so much on this, emphasize so much on diversity and inclusion, D&I, and why it matters and what benefits we get. And I will not read line by line all these texts I have here, but to me, it's like when you bring all these people with a different background, different expertise, different experience, you just bring in a lot of different perspectives and in different brains together. So automatically, I think you just enhance the creativity and innovation of the whole team. And also because of that, you improve the problem solving and decision making. And when you listen to these employees, and you also increase the employees' satisfaction and retention. And then as an organization, because of you have all these motivated employees and you have a good morale and engagement, you will have a better recruitment and retention of employees. And then also overall, you will improve your company or organization's reputation. Maybe you will also have a more loyal employees or even loyal customers. So from community and society perspective, we're also making positive impact on social justice and equality, and then overall contribute to the community development and cohesion. So these are more like a high level of the what kind of benefit we have. Now I want to take a little bit time to talk about what kind of initiative my organization have. So again, I'm not part of this development of this initiative. I just want to share what we do in my organization. So one thing I noticed is the leadership initiative, what we have in City of Cincinnati and GCWW. So I noticed one thing is we promote a lot of the diversity in leadership positions. Just to, sorry, my light off. Okay. To just make sure the diverse perspectives in the decision-making process. So there's some example of our leaders. So we have the female leader, the city manager in the city of Cincinnati. And for waterworks, we also have Kathy Bailey as an exec director. And then Andrea Young, they're both females, right? So as the first female permanent chief engineer in waterworks, I feel like these reflect our organization effort to become more inclusive. And then I'm really feel lucky working in such an environment, because when you work this kind of environment, you always kind of encouraged to pursue higher levels in the career and advance more in your career path. So I think that these are positive things you can bring to the employees. And also our organization developed a lot of this D&I strategy and then try to create an inclusive cultures. So there are some examples I put in here is like the city and then City of Cincinnati and then Greater Cincinnati Waterworks, we develop a lot of policies and practice that support the D&I. So, and then we have a very inclusive hiring process. And in Waterworks, we have very detailed guideline how we structure the more diverse interview team. So we bring people from different divisions with different background and different race. So that just to make sure we are not biased in the hiring process. And we also implement all these D&I training programs and workshops. So I list some of here, but the list go beyond this. So a lot of these trainings are actually mandatory for each employee. So we make sure all the employees get trained and then understand this and implement in their work. And we also try to encourage open dialogue and feedback between leaderships and then employees, and also establish the employee resource groups. So one example is we have right now have like Women of Water, ERG. So we meet regularly. Sometimes we bring speakers outside and talk about their career and then give some career advice. Sometimes we just meet together, having fun and support each other. So as a professionals in water industry, I believe you may have observed several key D&I trends in water field. Here are some of the things I noticed. I have seen certainly there are more community engagement and collaboration. So I've seen a lot of utilities partner with community organizations to address local water challenges and support community-driven initiatives. and also engage with more diverse range of stakeholders, try to get more inclusive decision-making process. And also there is more public education. Nowadays, there's a lot of new technologies we're using in water field, and there's a lot of emerging contaminants. So I think this time we need more public education, reach out to community, educate them, just to make sure they understand what we're doing. We also hear what they wanted. So these are kind of trends I noticed. And also on top of that, the other trend is the innovation for equity. So the entire water field right now try to foster innovation that specifically target the water challenges faced by underserved or marginalized communities. And then also try to more collaborate innovation to encourage collaboration between industry, academic, and then community organization, just to try to develop more inclusive water solutions. And I'm sure you also start hearing this environmental justice a lot in water. So again, we're trying to focus more vulnerable communities, develop environmental justice, and also provide more sustainable practices. So when I was put this slides, I think I wanted to just mention one thing Greater Cincinnati Waterworks have been doing on the lead service line replacement program. We right now we partner with University of Cincinnati, a few professors, and then graduate student to help us to develop a tool that can, when we do the lead service line replacement program, that help us prioritize the communities that are more vulnerable and get more impact from this lead. So we actually finished development this tool. We will start implement that in our lead service line replacement program. So when we selected like more than 10 factors, not only we just looking at the number of the lead service line in the neighborhood or just age of the house, all that kind of stuff. We also brought in a lot of the social and economic factors. For example, we have like a income level and poverty and number of the Black children and the lead levels, all that kind of stuff that will impact our decision-making process in the prioritizing this lead service. So right now we have like 52 neighbors in the city of Cincinnati. Using this tool, we can prioritize which neighborhood we should target first to replace lead service lines. So I think this cool thing, I'm not part of this, but I thought I wanted to share this because it might give some insights to other utilities who might thinking about this right now. So if you're interested in this more, I'm sure you can contact me or Tony. We can help you to connect right people. So that's something about diversity and inclusion. Right now, as I promised, I want to give some career advice. This is really based on my own experience, and I understand it might not work to everybody, but I hope this just provides some insights to young professionals or females or somebody who has some diverse background like myself. So if you think that works, that's great. If not, I hope at least it can somehow give you some hint in specific areas. So the first advice I wanted to say is just stay curious and continue learning. These are keys to me is in your career advancement and innovation. So there's a few tips to do this. Just embrace a growth mindset. Don't just look at the challenges and new information as obstacle. Just looking at opportunities, right? And second tip is like use more diverse resources. Old times we only rely on books and then maybe publications, but now there are so many resources you can utilize. Maybe you can use online courses, podcasts, anything that works best for you. And also engage with professional communities. Join industry groups or attend conferences and participate in any discussions. Whenever there's a chance, don't just resist these opportunities, go for it. And adapt to industry trends. Right now, I think water industry facing a lot of challenges like emerging contaminants, more strict regulations, cybersecurity, aging infrastructure. There are a lot of challenges. So to me, sometimes you can see this as a challenge, but on the other hand, this can provide some of the opportunity for you, especially for young professionals, because we need expertise a lot of these new areas. So you can choose whichever area that interests you most, and then just go delve deep into this, and then you will learn something, right? So just use this as an opportunity and just develop your skills in these areas. So that's my first piece of advice: curiosity and continuous learning. The second advice is create more robust network, right? I already briefly mentioned before, but this is an essential strategy for career growth. You every day you work with your coworkers, so try to build a good relationship with them and build authentic connections. Take time to get to know people around you and really listen to them, and whenever they need help, go reach out to them and help them. And also, if you're like a young professionals and you don't know how you want to move in your career, just seek out mentors and advisors. I'm sure there's experienced professional in your organization. You can talk and they will provide guidance and feedback and some career advice to you. And not just build network because you just wanted to just expand your contact information on LinkedIn or on Instagram. Learn from it. So gain some insights and growth through these professional connections. Explore different perspectives and looking for opportunities for growth and expand your knowledge base. So this is my second piece of advice. Lastly, my advice is just embrace new challenges. I want to more focusing on moving beyond your comfort zone. So when I look back my career path, I can say very confidently, if I stayed within my comfort zone, I would never reach where I am today. Because if you just stay in your comfort zone, you will never grow. You will never really learn stuff. So just take these as a challenge again, as an opportunity. So you don't have to do a big step just one time, just to take small steps first, like whatever you can manage, and then gradually build your confidence, gradually expand your comfort zone. So just give an example, doing this kind of public speaking is not really my strong suit again, but I decided grab it because I know this is an area I need to learn more, and then I need to build my confidence. So by repeatedly doing this, I know eventually I will feel more comfortable and just gradually overcome any kind of inconfidence, right? So just do it. And then if you're more focusing on the learning mindset, so not just thinking about the how scared this kind of thing is, just looking in more like what kind of benefits you get out of this these situations. So then you can make easier decision. Okay, I'll just do it. And then again, don't forget you can always seek support and feedback. Anybody around you, from family, from your coworker, from your supervisor. I'm sure you can find whoever you feel more comfortable with. And in my case, sometimes I even just go ask my daughter because she's born here and she's a native English speaker. When I prepare some presentation, sometimes I don't know how to pronounce, oh, what's the best word? Sometimes I go ask her. So it can be anybody, right? So these are kind of my three main advice I want to share today. With that, I think I can wrap up my presentation today. Again, I want to really say thank you everyone for joining me here today and listening to my story. I know it's kind of boring, but congratulations, you made it through. So now I'm happy to answer any question you might have.
Thank you, Haishan. You were absolutely amazing. You talked us through a lot of the pre-submitted questions, which was awesome. Before we open it up to anybody who has any questions, I do want to just ask a couple of things just from the questions that we had pre-submitted. So one of the questions was talking about stepping stones in your career, which you talked through that. But I just want to take you back to when you talked about how getting to the role of chief engineer, you feel like your passion and your dedication really helped you get to that point. But can you talk about maybe some any specifics you had that really prepared you? Because you talked about some advice for young professionals. If a young professional, or whether male or female, is looking to be chief engineer one day at any utility, what do you think that really prepared you that you could share with them for this role?
Well, as an engineer, to me, always one important thing is build up your technical skills first, right? So, because as an engineer, you cannot just talk and don't know what to do. So to me, again, I mentioned already, like follow your curiosity and don't be afraid to ask questions. So, so each step for me is like I spend like what in the couple like previous like a 3-4 position, I always spend like a 5-6 years, and then each of these position, I really delve into all the details, try to learn as much as you can. So you build up your confidence by learning a lot of skills and then giving experience. And also, again, by doing that, you also trying to build the connections with people around you. That's also important, because to me, that also another channel to learn a lot from other people's experience. Because to me, some things you can learn from the book, but some things you cannot learn from the book. Some is really experience related. So especially when I work as an operator, the treatment supervisor, and in the operation side, a lot of things I already learned from the college how we treat water and what's the best way to treat a certain chemicals. But in reality, certain things we have some limitations. So by talking to people who already had like a 20+ years experience, these are very good teachers. So not just ignore these people because they are in the lower levels, they knew just like they may not know these things. So I always try to open your ears and your eyes. Anybody around you can be a teacher. So I always try to build your skill set first. That will build your confidence too. And then you also start involved in these different things, not just skill. Skill is not the only important thing. If you wanted to move high up as a leader, you also build your leadership skills. So whenever there are opportunities come in, don't just turn it down first. Just try and think about what you can get out of this. And then again, I know sometimes it's scary at the beginning, but when you gradually move in there, it's not that scary. And then there's a lot of people can help you in the beginning. So I don't know if that really answered your question, but I always thought that learning continuously is important in building network, and then again also get out of your comfort zones. That's again, I already mentioned that these are really I want to really share with young professionals today.
Yeah, Haishan, that answered my question. That was great advice. I'll just open it up real quick. If anybody has any questions for Haishan, feel free to jump off mute or throw it in the chat. One other thing that came up on some of the pre-submitted questions was about D&I initiatives, and you talked about environmental justice, which was awesome. I think that you brought that up. What do you think, when you look at environmental justice, when you look at D&I, and you mentioned a lot of things happening at GCWW, how do you think that these new focus points have really benefited the water industry, or maybe GCWW specifically?
Again, I mentioned I'm not really expert here, but it's more like, to me, it's observation. And actually, I really benefit from that, because I already mentioned I never imagined I will become one day as a chief engineer, and there's not female engineers from the beginning, and they become chief engineer is another whole different animals. But again, I think nowadays it's giving us more the workplace, more inclusive workforce. And in that kind of environment, I think all these young, or if you're even like female engineers, don't be afraid. Don't take that as an obstacle, because if you have prepare yourself both from the technical and the leadership skill side. One day they will recognize, and then they will give you opportunity as a big leader. So don't don't say like, oh, I will never be in that role. Don't say that. You will never know what's gonna happen. So in waterworks, I don't know about other utilities and in other organizations, but at least in city of Cincinnati and in Cincinnati Waterworks, we are trying to do more on top of what we already did. So I talk about hiring process, and I talk about the what kind of training, and then environmental, employee, the groups, all that. So I hope all other utilities also kind of start engage in this kind of the initiatives. But I think we are I'm lucky in this Cincinnati Waterworks. Our leadership really trying to get more out of this. So we are working right now on the new strategic business plan. I think that's one big component where we'll spend a lot of more time. What else we can do? So and then it's just like through entire organization, everybody think it's something we have to pursue more and more.
Hi, I'm not sure, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Hi, Haishan, I love your story. Thank you so much for sharing. My name is Christina Smith. I'm actually from Illinois, and I'm curious to know how you would help to convince women who have great stories to tell, just like yourself, but they won't share, or they're hesitant because they don't see their value.
I already mentioned, I also in the beginning a little bit like hesitation on that. And I don't know, it really depending on what kind of individual you're talking to, but I just wanted to say like maybe you give some of the examples, what other females and who did this presentation, what kind of benefit, and how did help other like a young or female professionals in this field, and try to convince that from that perspective. And also, like I mentioned, like these also a good practice for themselves as well, right? So I know I'm nervous. I'm still nervous now, but by doing this repeatedly, you will overcome all these. So eventually you will become a great public speaker. I don't know what that situation, what the reason that person is hesitant to share their story, but I guess I just share some of the examples, like these like other females who already talk in this series, and then they all have bring in the unique experience and then interesting stories, and then how that will inspire other young or other female professionals in this field. And then again, just try to help them to forget about how scary this is. This is really not. And again, I want to mention actually from my personal experience, like this would help me being in the Zoom meeting, because I'll be even more nervous if I actually face-to-face to in-person meetings. So this was a little bit less nerve-wracking for me. So I don't know if this is gonna help when you say that. But that's all I can think of right now. I'm kind of nervous, so my brain is not really working well. So
That's fantastic. Thank you.
Haishan, you did an amazing job, and we are so thankful to you for joining us today for this Diversity in Water series. Thank you, Haishan.
thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. So I just want to, before we jump off, thank everyone who joined us today for coming to hear Haishan's story. Also want to take an opportunity to invite you to our next Diversity in Water speaker series event, which will be held on Thursday, November 14th at 5:30 p.m. So look for that invite. Simone with the Ohio EPA will be speaking at that event, and we're really looking forward to that. So thank you all again for joining us tonight, and thank you again, Haishan, for that awesome story.
Thank you all.
Take care, everyone.
Thank you, Haishan.
Bye.